Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel. Today I really wanted to sit down and talk about one of my favorite aesthetics of all time, and that is 90s basic chic. I feel like this style never truly leaves fashion. Every few years it comes back in a slightly different way, but at its core, it always stays relevant, because it's built around timeless pieces and really good styling rather than fast-moving trends. What makes it so appealing is that it feels effortless in the best possible way. Nothing about it looks overdone, but somehow the overall effect is incredibly polished. It's the kind of style that makes someone look instantly chic, without needing anything loud or obviously trendy. A lot of the aesthetics we talk about today, whether it's quiet luxury, model off-duty, or modern minimalism, really owe so much to what the 90s did so well. The decade mastered the art of making basics look elevated. A simple outfit could feel iconic, just because the fit was perfect. The palette was clean, and the overall mood felt very intentional. That's really what this video is about. How to capture that feeling. When I think of 90s basic chic, I immediately think of clean lines, minimal color palettes, and silhouettes that feel sleek rather than complicated. This isn't the louder side of 90s fashion that people often think of first. It's not about bold prints or very trend-driven pieces. It's about the refined, pared-back side of the decade. The beauty of this aesthetic is in its simplicity. It relies on basics, but not in a boring way. It's more about how those pieces come together. The right proportions can completely transform a simple look. A clean silhouette, soft layering, and a controlled palette can make the most minimal outfit feel incredibly sophisticated. There's always a sense of ease to it, as if the person wearing it didn't spend hours planning it, even though every detail feels right. That understated confidence is what makes this style so timeless. Now let's talk about the key pieces that really define the 90s basic chic aesthetic, because this is where the look starts to come together in a very clear way. The first thing I always think of is a great long coat or a clean structured jacket. Outerwear plays such a big role in this aesthetic because it instantly gives the look that polished finish. Even the most simple outfit underneath can suddenly feel expensive and intentional once you add a beautiful coat with a clean silhouette. Another essential is straight, clean denim. The denim in this aesthetic never feels overly distressed or overly trend-driven. It's usually simple, classic, and very wearable. The beauty comes from the cut and how it balances the rest of the outfit. I also think fitted knits and simple sweaters are such a huge part of this look. There's something very 90s about soft knitwear styled in a very understated way. It adds that quiet sophistication without feeling too formal. Then, of course, minimal dresses and sleek silhouettes are so important here. This could be anything that feels clean, fluid, and elegant without too much detail. The whole point is that the lines stay simple. Accessories are also key, but in a very restrained way. A simple shoulder bag, minimal jewelry, and sleek sunglasses instantly bring in that 90s mood. Nothing should feel too statement-heavy. The beauty of this aesthetic is that every piece supports the overall look instead of competing for attention. And honestly, one of the most important pieces is not even a clothing item. It's the fit. The cut of each piece matters so much more than in louder aesthetics. A simple look with the right fit will always feel more authentic to this style than something overly styled. One of the first things I always pay attention to when recreating this look is the palette. The 90s basic chic aesthetic really thrives on neutrals. Black, white, cream, beige, gray, navy, and sometimes deep brown tones are usually the foundation. Because the colors stay so controlled, the outfit instantly feels more elevated. Even the most simple look can appear expensive when the palette is cohesive. This is one of the easiest ways to channel the aesthetic in a modern wardrobe. You don't need anything overly complicated. Sometimes simply staying within a clean, neutral palette already does most of the work. Another important part is the styling itself. The overall look should never feel too busy. Accessories are usually minimal, makeup stays soft and natural, and the hair often has that slightly undone but polished feel. The best way to recreate 90s basic chic today is to focus on fit and proportion. Because the pieces themselves are simple, the way they sit on the body becomes so much more important. The right silhouette can make all the difference. This is really where the magic happens. It's less about buying something specific and more about how you style what you already have. Think about balance, clean lines, and an overall feeling of effortlessness. The look should feel polished, but never too done. One of the things I love most about the 90s basic chic aesthetic is that it's incredibly easy to bring into your everyday wardrobe without feeling too costume-like or overly inspired by a specific era. The key is to focus less on recreating an exact 90s look and more on capturing the feeling of it. What makes this aesthetic so timeless is that it's built around pieces most of us already have in some form. The difference really comes down to styling. It's about choosing cleaner silhouettes, keeping the palette cohesive, and making sure the overall outfit feels polished, but still relaxed. I think the easiest way to make it feel modern is through the balance of the look. You want it to feel effortless rather than overly styled. The outfit should have that, "I just naturally dress like this" energy, which is such a big part of what made 90s icons so inspiring in the first place. Another thing that really helps is paying attention to texture and proportion. Even when the outfit is simple, the contrast between different fabrics and the way pieces sit together can make everything feel much more elevated. This is what gives the look that quiet sophistication. If there is one woman who truly defines the 90s basic chic aesthetic, it has to be Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. Honestly, so much of what we now call quiet luxury or minimal chic can be traced back to her. What made her style so unforgettable was how effortless it felt. She never looked overly styled, but every look felt incredibly intentional. Clean coats, sleek tailoring, minimal bags, and a very controlled neutral palette became her signature. What I always notice in her outfits is the simplicity of the lines. Nothing feels too busy, and yet the overall effect is incredibly elegant. She really understood the power of clean silhouettes and restraint, which is such a big part of this aesthetic. She's probably the first reference I would give to anyone trying to recreate 90s basic chic today. Then we have Kate Moss, who brings a slightly different energy to the same aesthetic. Her version feels cooler, more undone, and a little more effortless in that very model off-duty way. What I love about her 90s style is that it never loses that chic simplicity, but it feels more relaxed. The silhouettes are still clean, the palette often stays neutral, but there's a certain ease and confidence that makes everything feel incredibly modern even now. She's such a great reference if you want the aesthetic to feel a bit more relaxed and less polished than Carolyn's version. And then I also really love looking at 90s Jennifer Aniston for inspiration, because her style feels incredibly wearable. Her looks from that era are the perfect example of how simple styling can still feel so chic. There's always this sense of ease in the way she dressed. The looks feel polished, but still very natural for everyday life, which makes her such a strong reference if you want to bring this aesthetic into your real wardrobe. A lot of her 90s outfits still feel like something you could wear today and instantly look put together. What I love about 90s basic chic is how clearly you can still see it in the way some of today's most stylish celebrities dress. A great modern reference for this is Hailey Bieber. So much of her everyday style feels rooted in that same minimalist language. clean silhouettes, neutral tones, sleek accessories, and beautifully styled basics. Even when the outfit itself is very simple, it never feels plain because the proportions and finishing details always make it feel elevated. There's a real sense of ease to the way she dresses, which is such a key part of this aesthetic. I also think Kendall Jenner is a perfect modern reference. Her street style often relies on timeless basics and clean, polished styling that instantly gives that 90s feel. The looks are usually simple, but because the fit is so good and the palette stays very cohesive, everything feels incredibly chic. It's the perfect example of how this aesthetic still works so beautifully today, without feeling dated. For outfit ideas, think of looks that feel clean, effortless, and naturally elevated. The overall mood should be polished without looking too styled, almost as if the outfit came together very intuitively. You want silhouettes that feel sleek and balanced, with soft layering and pieces that work quietly together. Nothing should feel too busy. The beauty of this aesthetic is in how simple everything feels while still looking incredibly chic. Another direction I really love for this style is leaning into that slightly undone 90s energy. Looks that feel relaxed, refined, and confident. The kind of outfit that works just as beautifully for a coffee run as it does for a city day out. You can also play with more monochrome styling here, because that always gives the look a very polished and timeless finish. Keeping the palette cohesive instantly makes everything feel more elevated. The main thing is to keep the overall feeling effortless. The outfit should look like something that was put together naturally, rather than something overthought. That ease is really what makes 90s basic chic so beautiful. And that's everything for today's 90s basic chic deep dive. I honestly love coming back to aesthetics like this because they remind us that style doesn't have to be complicated to feel beautiful. Sometimes the most timeless looks are the simplest ones, and the 90s really mastered that balance of effortlessness and elegance. I'd love to know which part of this aesthetic you're most drawn to, whether it's the clean silhouettes, the celebrity inspirations, or the overall minimal mood of it all. And if there's another style era or fashion aesthetic you'd like me to break down next, definitely let me know in the comments, because I always love hearing what you want to see. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps support the channel and lets me keep making these style guides for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.